Detroit has a RoboCop statue. Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. I'm Jer Stays. Today, we are talking to the people who made this piece of art happen that you can now visit in Eastern Market. But before we get started, I want to thank this week's sponsor. This year, Merry Midtown is stepping in to carry the spirit of Noel Night forward. It's a festive evening with holiday surprises tucked into more than 50 of your favorite Midtown Detroit spots, all alive with lights, music, and that unmistakable December energy. It all happens this Saturday, December 6th, from 5 to 9 p.m. Find out all the details at citybirddetroit.com/events. That's citybirddetroit.com/events. And if you haven't already, follow Daily Detroit in your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And thank you so much for listening. Let's hop into this conversation. We have a very special edition of Daily Detroit here at our studio at Tech Town. I have three very interesting guests around one very interesting art project that is coming to fruition in the city of Detroit. As you're hearing this, yes, Virginia, there is a RoboCop statue in Eastern Market, and I have three of the people very key to making this happen. I'm going to align people so that you know. To my left is Jim Toscano, the co-owner of Free Age. Welcome to Daily Detroit.
Hello, Jerry. Thanks for having me.
Across the table from me is Pete Hottelet. He is the artist at Omni Consumer Products. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jerry. Thanks for having me on.
And Brandon Walley. He is a filmmaker and formerly of the Imagination Station, which longtime Detroiters will know is a very whimsical and interesting place. But good to see you.
Thanks. Great to see you, and thanks for having us on.
All right. So I guess I'm going to start with the most obvious question first. Like, why a RoboCop statue?
I think it's got to be one of you two.
Well, I would say, why not? Things change. You know, when this project came down the line 14.8 years ago right now, it was just kind of like an interesting idea, started from a tweet. It's a really long story, but basically started from a tweet from someone in Philadelphia telling the mayor at the time, Mr. Bing, that Detroit needed a RoboCop statue because Philly had Rocky. And mutual friend, John Leonard at the time, he was a huge RoboCop fan, local guy. And he took it upon himself to start a Facebook page, Detroit Needs a RoboCop Statue, which quickly went viral. And after a short time after that, he contacted myself, at the time was with Imagination Station, and we were kind of commissioning local public art projects to see if we might be interested. And talked to my team, and we all thought it was just like super crazy and fun idea. And so we ran with it. And, it started from having no idea how to build a 10-foot plus bronze statue. We thought, let's start with a little like action figure model and 3D scan it and have the kids at CCS create it as part of their like a semester project or something in their little foundry. Quickly found out that that wasn't possible. There was a lot more to it, which we can get into. Pete reached out soon after that, and he's been a tremendous help through the whole production of this too, with his ties to more of the Hollywood and the legal side of it that us kids at the time in Detroit had no idea what we were doing. Then Jim came on the scene towards the end after we had the statue done, but looking for a home. And we just found the perfect spot with his company, with Free Age, right there in Eastern Market.
It seems like this has really caught people's imagination, but it seems to me, talking from the three of you, as we were setting this up, there's more to this than just like sticking a statue up and being like, ha ha, at first, I think some people get the impression that this is like, a really big prank that's gone sideways, right? But you all have more thoughts behind this than just, oh, hey, it'd be cool to do this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I'm glad you raised the issue or the question marks that people had, because a lot of people didn't totally understand the project at first, especially MGM, and having those conversations and helping them along to get to where we already were when we were talking about this and coming up with possibilities and bringing the statue from the 6-foot idea to let's do it at 10 foot, let's do it in bronze instead of iron, so it'll just be this eternal monument that will continually benefit the community. These were all things that we had to help people to understand through the progress of multiple conversations. I had donated $25K, and that I think was a huge point of understanding for MGM, because their initial reaction to this was, okay, who are these people that want to do something with our IP? The rights aren't there. Are they just trying to profit from this? Is the money going to be raised and people are going to run off into the sunset, which, by the way, happens to some projects. And so I think collectively, our mission was, this is going to happen. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a really fantastic piece of sculpture. And it will happen. It will go up if it is the last thing that we do on Earth. It does not matter how long it takes. If it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. If I'm 85 years old, and Brandon and I have had this conversation, dude, if I'm 85 years old and this thing is still not up, I am going to crawl out of my bed, hospital bed, and do whatever it takes. So that's always been the motivation, is let's do something cool and give back to the community and give the world something amazing to look at and experience.
Yeah. And the thing is about this, being an Eastern market. So, Jim, how did it come to be that basically you decided to have RoboCop be your roommate?
You're right. Yeah, I mean, it was the kind of thing I couldn't say no to once Brandon brought it up. Brandon and I went to film school. He was an instructor at Detroit Film Center, and I took classes there, and that's how we knew each other. So we started Free Age in Eastern Market, and we were leasing a building, and then we moved in and bought the building we're in now. And I think the day we moved in, Brandon reached out and said, hey, how about you have the RoboCop statue on your patio? And I was like, oh, yeah, right. 3 days later, he called back like, did you think about it? And I'm like, oh my, this is real? Like, yeah, let's try and make this work. And I was telling Pete earlier, like, that's why we're working in Detroit. In the suburbs, things like this don't happen, and we knew, let's stay in Detroit, let's buy a building in Detroit, and things happen here. But really, honestly, once you guys asked me, I thought we have to do this now. Like, I can't not see what happens,
And to say too, follow up with that, like, before I reached out to Jim, and as soon as I figured out where you're moving to, you were in my crosshairs. So I was just waiting for you to move, and then I pounced. But before that, we had an agreement with Eastern Market. Dan Carmody at the time, amazing executive director who recently stepped down. He was a champion of the project from day one. So we knew it was going to be there after things fell through, like the Science Center. That was a deal that fell through during the pandemic. We just love the idea of it being in Eastern Market. And Dan was kind of like at Eastern Market was looking for a home. And so, I just approached Jim because it was exactly what Dan was also talking about as far as a location, like having RoboCop kind of like on the peripheral of the market and kind of as like welcoming people into the market. Because even the way, if you haven't seen it public, I'm sure you will soon. He's, RoboCop is, as the statue is just, he's presented as a welcoming figure. He has his arm extended. It's all about welcoming the public. So that was the idea with Eastern Market, is to have him somewhere around there. And really, Jim's spot at Free Age is just about a block away from where we were thinking of putting it. So it just worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
And, I love that, Free Age is an entertainment film production company that is all about telling stories, is all about being involved in the community in Detroit. So it couldn't be any more perfect, in my opinion.
So a number of listeners are going to ask, like, why did it take so long? Now, my dad was a artist and a sculptor, so I know these things sometimes don't go as planned, right? But to a lot of folks, they might be like, well, 14.8 years in Star Trek time as we've got it down here. Why did it take so long? What were some of the hurdles and challenges and things that you learned doing this project?
I can speak to the last 3 years. That's how long we've been into it. And I always tell everyone it was always moving forward. It just was very, very slow. And I think another cool thing about this is I don't know that anyone's ever really done this before. It's not, a statue of even a real person. And so there's the IP and there's the location and there's just like, I think it just is hard for people to grasp on every, piece of this that touches this. It's like, so what don't I know? And like, well, there's a lot we all don't know, but that's the fun of it. So the last 3 years, like I said, it's just kind of been moving forward just slowly, and COVID was in there. And
oh yeah, that thing.
Just so many hurdles, Jer. I mean, they were all, maybe we were a little bit naive at first, and thinking this could be something that would be done in a couple years. But, we learned with, like I said before, a lot of help from Pete about making sure it's done right, getting, you know, the IP cleared from MGM. And then, yeah, there was a big thing for us too, was making sure that as much of it could be made in Detroit. You know, we did not want, because sure, there is, you know, they have these basically like, you know, statuary factories that, you know, can build something really quick for a university or something like that. We were not interested in that. And so when we were exploring how to do that, we learned about Venus Bronze Works, and they're just an amazing institution in itself, you know, doing custom statuary, bronze, and restoration for all the landmarks around Detroit, you know, from Joe Louis Fisk to the old city hall, the statues that are on the corner of the building. So it was just perfect. But they're also artisans that do things that take maybe like 100 times slower than one of these like stamping plants, you know? But we were okay with that. You know, we were doing what we thought was like the best way possible to make it, you know, and making sure like going down the line at first, like this was created from the exact costume that Peter Weller wore, right, in the movie. Yeah. So getting the artists to, you know, fabricate that and make a model out of that and then make a huge mold out of that. Like it touched so many hands before that model came to Venus Bronze Works. So I think it was like 5 or 6 years in when it came to Venus.
So Mark Dubois at Tippett Studio, you know Tippett Studio. We see each other. Mm-hmm. Tippett Studio.
For the listeners who don't, though, what is Tippett Studio?
You've seen Star Wars. You've seen Jurassic Park. Phil Tippett is credited as Dinosaur Wrangler on Jurassic Park. Tippett Studio is just legendary FX studio. And we all agreed that to do this project correctly, it had to be done in Detroit for it to be a Detroit project, for it to be authentic and for it to respect the city in the way that the city deserves to be respected. But then also the sculpt and the form and the geometry of the result had to be authentic to the actual movie. And so Mark Dubois, who is an amazing sculptor, was able to locate the original armor from the movie in a warehouse in Houston.
That's wild.
And he got his hands on it, and he did a painstaking restoration, like a heartfelt restoration of the original armor. And this would have never, ever, ever, ever been possible from a figure or, you know, even like one of the larger figurines that they have, because none of those are correct. They all have wrong stuff going on. And this was the actual armor. So he got the armor, he resculpted so many pieces, so many of the little greebles, like the pistons on the back of the legs, the valves and the vents on his back, things that never even made it on screen. Like the rear shot is rather surprising for a lot of folks. So if you're able to make it out and you know, just do a 180 around the back of the statue, some of these things have never, ever, ever been seen on screen. And that's why they're not correct on any of the licensed materials. Because a lot of the folks that make licensed stuff, they're looking at the movie and they're like, okay, that looks about right. I'm going to, you know, and then they're making notes or sketches or what have you.
They're just trying to like turn the biggest profit. So, okay, I have X hours for design. Here is the movie. I'm not going to get into it. And what I love about the artistry of this, having seen like individual pieces and process over the years, is that both sides of the fence are painted. Like quite literally, you know, like Steve Jobs from Apple talks about, like you paint the side of the fence you don't see.
Yes.
And that kind of care is part of what makes an artistic piece snap. You know, even when I think about when I create anything, I think about that idea where it's like, how does this feel right and special to people? That extra je ne sais quoi, where it's like, it's not just good, this rocks, you know?
Right. I was reading in some of the comments, you know, in some of the posts, and somebody, I told Pete on the way here, you know, said, I think this is the first statue that's going to look exactly like it's supposed to. You know, like you see like the Rocky statue, you're like, that's not Sylvester Stallone. Like this is like, has to be the most accurate, in my opinion. And, you know.
Shots fired to the other cities with famous statues. And
Sly is going to come at me.
You know what, though? We've got RoboCop now. Sly can't do anything.
Yeah, right.
Right? There is directives here. Speaking of directives, there is a prime directive with RoboCop that I want to talk about. And it's around serving the public, because this is something that's going to attract a lot of attention. I've been telling listeners that, like, this is the kind of thing that people are going to travel for. When people come to Detroit, this is going to be on their checkoff list. What kind of work is this going to do other than like, it's great that it brings butts to the city, right? But like Detroit is about doing things and doing good. So what are some of your thoughts around that?
Directive 1 of RoboCop is serve the public trust. And from the inception of this was all about living that truth and trying to do something positive and fun and amazing for not just the city, but anybody who is interested in this movie, anyone who was inspired by it as a child. So the plaque, which is going to be on the statue, is a QR code. And this has never been done before on a major piece of permanently installed sculpture. The plaque is a QR code. So when people come see it, they'll have their phone out, they'll be curious, they'll scan the code, they'll be able to participate in whatever is going on when they scan that code. And whether that's seasonal stuff or like being involved in the community in some way, or possibly just donating to a food bank, double tap the button on the side of your phone to donate $1 via Apple Pay. You've already got your phone out. That prompt is right there for you to participate, to give back to the community, to serve the public trust. And that is the absolute coolest thing about this statue is we are making the real RoboCop directive real from the movie. It's not just this solid artifact that you just look at. He's a real thing that is actually benefiting the community and serving the public trust, even though he's not, walking around and traveling around in his squad car. It's the sort of thing that can give back forever.
I think that's so important. So before I let you three go, I want to ask each of you, what is the thing that you are most proud of being involved in this project? And then what is the thing that you learned that you didn't know when you started? So I'll go around the table. Who wants to go first?
The thing that I'm most proud of is just to help finish this, just to get it to the finish line as a place for its final home. I mean, I just think it's just such an original idea, and it's never been done before, and you guys have been at it for so long. Just to get it done and have it have a home, it feels great. I feel really proud to be a part of it and proud to have it at our home. The thing that I'm really looking forward to most is meeting all the people that are going to come and see it. I know it's going to be probably crazy at first, but just the comments that I've been reading on some of these posts of like, hey, me and my brother donated to this and we can't wait to see it. Or my dad, someone said that their dad really wanted to see it, but he passed away, but I'm going to come and see it anyways. I love stories, and I look forward to meeting these people and really making them feel at home and letting them enjoy this piece of art and just have some fun.
Pete, I was looking at your Omni Consumer Products website. I got to tell you, this lines up with a lot of what you do. Like if you go to this website, which is wild, I encourage people to go. But same question to you, what are you most proud of? And what have you've done some interesting things in the past, you go on there and I can get Sex Panther. So, I mean, it's a real thing. You make Fight Club soap real. It's very impressive.
It's scent matched to the Sex Panther, by the way.
Oh,
The soap.
I'm going to have to get a bottle and try that. That's a warning to those at home with
You
me.
didn't bring any?
So my jam has been defictionalized products. I don't know if you could tell from my enthusiasm about defictionalizing RoboCop in his Directive 1, but defictionalizing things. So Brando, the Thirst Mutilator from Idiocracy.
I feel like we need gallons of that right now.
No comment. True Blood, Fight Club soap, Sex Panther cologne, just a raft of ideas. Everyone knows Omni Consumer Products if they're fans of the movie, which is the corporation in the movie, inverting that evilness of that mega corporation to instead try to make people smile, I think is what drives me and what motivates me. And when I see people that have never seen the statue before walk in the door and then their whole face just lights up and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. That's what drives me to do everything, to do anything, because how you do anything is how you do everything.
So you've been involved in so many projects. What did you learn different doing this that you thought you knew but when you started?
What I love about this specific project is how collaborative it was. So throughout this process, Brandon, Jerry, Mary, it ended up being this journey where I think the real monument for me is not the statue, but it's the friends that I made along the way, if that makes sense. I would have never met these amazing people. I would have never met you. Being able to participate and live this story is, I think, the greatest aspect of this. And the fact that it took 14.8 years and we finished it.
And you're not 85.
And I'm not 85.
At least you don't look 85.
I'm not 85 yet.
Brandon?
I have to go along with what Pete said. I mean, just the collaboration was, I've never experienced this level of dedication from a team as I have with this project, overall. And I'm involved with a lot of things from film festivals to film productions and stuff where there has been great examples of that. But this, over this duration of time, is crazy. A lot of times people get tired of it or they have to move on just because of other life things or whatnot. But the core of us, Jerry and Mary Paffendorf, Pete, me, a handful of other people, Venus Bronzeworks, everyone, we just refused to let it die. And there's been times I was really bummed, during the pandemic when we had a deal basically with the Science Center. It's no fault of their own, but, COVID messed up a lot of businesses, and they had to restructure and it just wasn't priority for them. And that's totally understandable. But this sort of collaboration where everyone is just positive and it's not like, oh man, kicked me in the shin, I'm sick of getting kicked. It's like, no, okay, we're going to heal up and we're going to figure out how to do this, So to me, it was just a tremendous lesson in growth and collaboration that was just, really special. And I'm just glad to have this project done too, though, after 15 years.
We get knocked down and we get back up again.
That's right.
You're never going to keep us down.
It's
Chumbawamba in the house.
Chumbawamba.
And just, it's so Detroit too, right? I mean, it's Detroit hustles harder and the grit and the go to work Pistons and all that.
Well, if people want to check it out for themselves, they can go down Mack Avenue just off of I-75 right there on Russell Street in front of what I knew them as the fire department lofts.
Yeah.
But Free Age right there. You can't miss it. Big garage doors, Free Age sign across from Wiggly. So if you see that, you're in the right, but you're not going to be able to miss it. It's great. It's great. Well, Jim Toscano, Pete Hottelet, and Brandon Walley, thank you so much for your time on Daily Detroit. Congratulations, guys. You have a lot to be proud of.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jer.
Thanks, Jer.
Feedback, as always, dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. Know that we might use it in the show. Also, thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit. Local media needs local support to survive. Get swag, get our undying thanks, and access to our member-only Discord. All right, until tomorrow, remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.